Welcome back to the Marketing Amendment on Extra 106.3. So we've talked a lot. One thing we've not figured out is why the hell Uncle Donnie's here in the first place. So Donnie, how'd you get roped into this, bud?
Well, I was actually supposed to retire for the 4th time. My wife said, no more jobs. And I said, please, I love this business. I run sports at Anheuser-Busch. I've worked on Olympics. I need one more go around. She said, okay, only if you get a full-time gig, and it's got to be really fun. So I went to a sports conference, and I met Teresa Wenzel, who's the president of the Atlanta Vibe. And casually, I said, are you looking for somebody to help you do marketing and branding and partnerships? And she said, yes. So I had breakfast with Colleen the next morning, and I went home on a Wednesday night, and I said, I'm not retiring. And my wife said, what are you doing? I says, I am the Chief Revenue and Partnership Officer for a women's professional volleyball team. And she said, well, it's better than what you were doing back in 1992, which was running the Penthouse Pet Parties.
We've come full circle here. We've come full circle here. All right, Colleen, so we've covered a lot. I want to spend a little time talking about the future. So based on our conversations, one thing that seems clear to me is that you have a really nice head start and you're differentiated from other women's sports. First off, why do you think that is? And then let's talk about how that sets you up for the future.
Yeah, I think one thing about volleyball is I think we're the big sister sport, right? So it is led on the female side. You know, 95% of the sport is on the women's side. Now, I am also involved with growing the men's side, sure, and I'm an advocate on the growing on the men's side. But I think we have that where the WNBA has the NBA side and the women's soccer has the men's soccer side. We're driven on the,
and you're
almost
the big side. Tethered to it, right? For good or bad, to some capacity, because the NBA funded the growth of the WA for all that time, and they were only sold responsibly. Now it'll start to split off kind of on its own, and it'll see the fruits of those labors. You're not tethered. You're more flexible.
We're not, and that provides us with a lot of opportunity, a lot of open green space, and how we want to move this forward. We don't have a lot of the legacy issues that some of the other leagues might have, and that's the beauty of getting in the sport now. And part of what we're seeing is the uptake on the sponsorship side. I would say volleyball is the last, what I'd call traditional sport that doesn't have a professional league, and we're at we're nascent, right? We're at the very beginning stages. So if you're going to get in this game of professional sports, now is the time to get it, because it's not getting any cheaper, right? The cost to play, the integration of it is only going to be going up from here.
Yeah, and I know Don can speak to that, especially from his time with Anheuser-Busch. We're going to close out, and we're going to let Don talk a little bit about sponsorship opportunities to make sure we cover our marketing quota, which we have not on the show yet. But what does the future look like? So from a league standpoint, which you're heavily involved with, and the team. So we'll be talking expansion. How many teams is ideal? As the Vibe, do you guys, is the arena the right size for you, or the plan to mega growth? What are the plans? From
a league perspective, yes, we will be continuing on the expansion. So we will have franchise expansions, and we're going to manage that franchise expansion. As we talked about before, the why is super important. Having the right team owners are super important. So we're not going to go from 8 to 24.
But the demand is there. You probably could if you wanted to.
The demand is more than there.
Okay, cool.
And again, we don't, unlike maybe soccer, you have to build a soccer stadium, or football, you need a football stadium. With volleyball, we can put that in an existing arena. So that actually lowers some of those barriers for us. And some of these franchise owners have been looking at a women's franchise that's north of $100 million.
Yeah.
That's not the case in volleyball right now. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. So we're excited there. From the Atlanta Vibe standpoint, I mean, really, we want to grow within the community and continue to develop our franchise. We want to be within Atlanta and within the league, one of the top franchises, if not the top franchise, in a culture of championship and of winning. So Gas South has been phenomenal. We'll play at Gas South for the foreseeable future. With 10,000 seats arena, we want to pack that out, and then we'll have our sights set from there. Cross our fingers.
I love it, and luckily you got a legacy of winning in that building. Our friends at the Georgia Swarm, it was their second or third year that they won the championship, and it was a pretty cool experience over there. So I think winning does a lot to fix it, and I think you got to set your team up to win. I think luck has to play in everything, but I also think you have to set your team up to be lucky, and that's where that passion and love for each other as a team goes. The teams that work together get lucky together.
And like you said, I'm sure you've heard the phrase, luck is where opportunity meets preparation, right?
There it is.
That's where we sit.
There it is. So before we turn it over to Uncle Donnie, so you have had an incredibly successful career. We have just skimmed the surface of it. So what advice do you give to people? What have you done to be so regimented, to be just so successful in what you do? You know, it seems like you have a pretty strong pillar system in what you believe in. What is it? What advice would you give people?
Sure. And great question. I mean, I think there's a lot of different philosophies out there. There's kind of 8 pillars that have guided me from a career standpoint, and we've touched on some of them already. Okay. You know, one of them was really the growth mindset that we discussed. One of the things I look back at is visualizing success. So I tried this on. I said, you know, could I see myself owning a pro volleyball team? What does that look like? Would Atlanta accept that? Visualize that. Can you see it? Can you feel it? And I could. A set goal.
That's not just putting a Lamborghini on a vision board, right? Because I tried that. It didn't work.
It looked terrible
on the vision board. It didn't work.
You know, another big one we talked about also as well is setting goals. You know, very specific. We talked about setting the goal of, can we be on the news station? And, you know, they may be small tactical goals, like what's our social media reach, to getting on the news, to the larger goal, which is becoming, you know, the dominant franchise and having, quite frankly, my ultimate goal is that volleyball is seen as a tier 1 sport in the United States. That is actually my ultimate goal. And by that, I mean, it's part of your regular shows and locker room talk. Yeah. It's not an emerging sport, but it's part of that culture. That's setting goals. So growth mindset, visualizing success, setting goals. And then I look at setbacks as stepping stones. So I know we glanced over this, but when I actually launched my hedge fund, it was in 2008. And if you guys might recall that something certain was going on in the market in 2008.
Crazy.
Yeah, the fall of 2008, and we just launched our hedge fund. But, you know, I took that opportunity, and story for another day, but have actually parlayed that into opportunities. So setbacks are stepping stones if you look at that and how to spin.
And I think mistakes too. Mistakes are only mistakes if you make them twice in a row.
That's right.
Right. Usually, if you learn from it and you don't make it again, that's not a mistake.
That's right. And then the fifth one I'd say is focusing on what you can control. So, you know, there's a lot of things that go on in this world and we cannot control it. And I think a lot of people get caught up in what other people are doing. Why are they doing it? Looking back and being reactive. Focus on what we can control and continue to move forward. The last couple of ones, we talked about this, was operating with intentionality. You know, everything we do, the moves that we make, and thinking about those, and they don't necessarily have to be forward facing, but if I'm intentionally deciding I'm going to take the night off and it's my kid's homecoming game, I'm going to go to my homecoming game, and that's okay. Yeah. It doesn't have to always be driving that way.
Get in an hour earlier to start your day a little earlier the next day.
Being honest and open with yourself about your intentions, and that's okay. You know, there's different priorities. The last couple is surround yourself with supportive people. We talked about the energy takers and the energy givers. So try to find those folks. One of the recommendations that I give a lot of folks is having your own personal board of directors. So I have what I call my own personal board of directors, and it's not people that I work with. One is a past partner from a consulting firm that I worked with, and we'll go to breakfast. And these are people that I can talk about business situations, conversations, know me personally, that will give you the real advice.
The real advice,
And they're not vested necessarily in what you're going through. So everyone should have a personal board of directors that they can
without
rely on.
Financial stake in it. You're right, because all of a sudden if you have financial stake, there's one intention, and that's let's figure out how to do more money. Right. But as opposed to
maybe it's not a family member either, right? Those are folks that you develop. So and then last, I would say, is continuous improvement. Right, there's always less. So people ask, well, how do you think we did in season 1? And I'm like, well, it was great. You know, we had thousands of people in the stands. And I said, depends on how you want me to answer that. So yes, it was great with thousands of people in the stands. And I'm like, yeah, but I want thousands more. Right. So continuous improvement. How do we revisit ourselves? And that's not to put ourselves, you know, down. Our team did phenomenal. You know, our business team, we haven't even really talked about them. They kicked butt last year. They did a great job. But there's always ways to improve. So how do we do that moving forward? And we'll look for suggestions from you and for the crowd. We like feedback.
We're happy to help you get it.
You know, building that fandom is super important.
We're happy to help you get it. So, Ladani, the way the sponsors invest, people underestimate how important sponsors are to underwriting these teams, and not just sponsors, good sponsors, right? A sponsor showing up to harass your people to sell a timeshare is not helping anybody, right? But people that are there sampling and engaging in activations. Talk about what you guys are looking for sponsorship, and talk about how people can find you on the sponsorship front.
So here's a situation. I've been blessed because I've been able to sell a lot of incredibly great opportunities and properties, from the Olympic Games to NFL to Major League Baseball. And the beautiful thing about the Atlanta Vibe is we have a blank sheet of paper, and we have an owner not just a president or a general manager, but an owner who is open to creativity. So we have the ability to create a sponsor program. I don't even like to call them sponsors. They're partners. We want business partners. We want them. The number one most important thing for a partner is tell your story about being with us out in the marketplace. So we want partners who are marketing partners with us, first and foremost at the end of the day. Checks are great. We certainly want that because we've got to pay bills. But the number one thing right now is we are looking for strategic marketing partners who will help us. And the people that we're talking to right now are incredibly excited, both our current ones and the one we're moving forward to. The other thing is, the great thing, I believe, is the women who play on the team, the players, they want to be vested in the partnerships. How can we make appearances on behalf? Polar opposite. How can we make? I mean, can we go on sales calls?
You'd be lucky if a Brave shows up when they're going to show. You'd be lucky. Thrilled.
And Colleen, you could second that.
Oh yeah, no, and I will absolutely second that. So just to give you a little touch point, after our first match, so we did an autograph signing, and you're like, you don't know this, you don't know what's going to happen. All the athletes showed up. I went upstairs, and I have a video of this on my phone because I was just flabbergasted. I started filming, walked down the line. The line for autographs were wrapped down and around. Those athletes stayed. We cut it off at an hour and a half. So they've been playing for hours. They were up there. They're laughing and giggling. The line is wrapped around the building, cut it off after an hour and a half, and that's what the athletes are about. Like they want to engage with the community. They want to engage with the fans.
Yeah, if I felt that the performers, the athletes were not engaged, I wouldn't have done this.
Yeah,
at the last
it doesn't help anybody. It just pisses people off. It's a bad look.
And if I felt that the ownership was going to second guess and grind for nickels and dimes, I wouldn't have done this. This is Colleen and the rest of it has a long view of where this is going, and our players have bought in. The staff has bought in. How can we make the sponsor, the partner experience, the absolute best it can be? And the number one thing we do is we say, what is your business goal? What are you trying to achieve? And let's create something that helps you achieve your marketing objectives.
Yeah.
I'm a marketing guy. Although it was from San Diego State, the degree, and it did take 5 years, and I lived at the beach. But at the end of the day, we understand a variety of businesses because of the experience that we have on our partner team.
Sponsorship, we're problem solvers. Okay, you have a problem. This program can help you achieve a small bit of that problem. You'll have renewals for the rest of your life. We got to stop looking at it as a marketing asset. This is a solution to a problem. And if you do that, you're always going to succeed.
It's not us about getting partners. It's about us helping partners.
And I think the coolest part is because you are drawing from the entire community, you don't have to localize. This is not a Gwinnett County thing. This is we are pulling people from everywhere thing because we are a destination because everybody is touched by volleyball in some capacity. So you are a market-wide thing. And I think that's one mistake people make. They get very closed-minded and small-minded, which hurts your brand. Sometimes I will take a big brand at a discount because I want that big brand associated because it makes me look like a bigger entity, right? Not a little rinky-dink radio station anymore. Invesco is the underwriter. Invesco doesn't work with a lot of radio stations. It makes me big, which the value goes up for everything else. I just had a secret. Shoot, I shouldn't have. Colleen, what you got to close us out with, girl?
Come out and visit us. We'd love to see you at a match.
What's the website? Make sure we got the Instagram handles. Get everything out there.
AtlantaVibe.com.
Okay, we're on Instagram on all social channels.
That's
there
right.
you go. You've been listening to The Marketing Madman on Extra 106.3, and we'll catch you next week.